Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Panthers on the Plus. I'm WCNC Charlotte Sports Director Nick Carboni. It is Tuesday, and it is day 2 of our nightly conversations at 9 o'clock, talking Panthers in the playoffs, taking on the LA Rams Saturday afternoon at Bank of America Stadium. We have a special guest every single night of the week. Got a really special one tonight. It is Alex Zetlow from the Charlotte Observer, who just got back from the bank. What's up, Alex?
What's up, man? Hey, I was about to say, if you were going to be in the studio, I will gladly join you.
I know, you were like texting me a couple minutes ago, like, do I need to be there right now? I was like, well, we could just do Zoom. It's okay. We're all really busy right now, but busy in a good way. So just like some inside baseball here, because of today's locker room times, I was not able to stick around. So for everybody out there who doesn't really know what the vibe was today, what was said, and this is the first time we've gotten to talk to the players since they knew they were going to be in the postseason, and now they're prepping for the Rams. So for everybody else out there and me, what was it like in there today, and what stood out?
Yeah, it's a great question. I don't really know what I was expecting, full disclosure. I mean, this team hasn't been in the playoffs since 2017, hasn't hosted a playoff game since 2015. Dave Canales is a second-year head coach, hasn't been to the playoffs as a head coach. Obviously, Bryce Young also. So it's like there are all these things. That the Panthers actually have 7 Super Bowl winning players on their roster. And I think, and of those, there are like an additional 13 who have made the playoffs for other teams before. Obviously, only 2 have made the playoffs with the Panthers, and that's J.J. Jansen and Taylor Moton. So I say all that to say, this is like the most varied playoff experience group that in the NFL. So I was like, I really didn't know what to expect, and I was expecting some sort of like excitement, some elevated, I wouldn't say like delirium necessarily, because like, you know, it's been a couple of days since they made the playoffs, and it's not a game day or anything like that, but I was expecting something special. And then you go up, you meander over to Mike Jackson, the Panthers cornerback, who's having a wonderful year, and you're like, yo, Mike, so like, how'd you feel when you realized you made the playoffs? And he was like, oh, I was playing 2K. Yeah, I like learned about it on Twitter. And you're like, okay, well, maybe Mike Jack is just like this special kind of person who doesn't really look into anything. You go over to T-Mac, Tedero McMillan, rookie, and he was like, oh, yeah, I was watching a movie. And I'm just like, what movie was it? And he was like, I don't even remember. You're telling me that you were watching a movie that you don't even remember instead of, you know, watching this Falcons Saints game that decided the fate of this franchise and all these things. So that just kind of encapsulates kind of what the vibe was in the lockers room. The players were very much back to business, even as Dave Canales acknowledged how special this was, even as all 52 players on the active roster right now practiced in some capacity, which hasn't happened in a long time. So clearly something is different. But the players themselves were reticent to say that it was different, if that makes sense.
It does. 52 players on the active roster, you say. There's room for one more. What do we know about guard Robert Hunt and wide receiver David Moore? Moore is up on the active roster again, I believe, and now it's just a matter of if whether or not Hunt's going to be ready, right?
That's exactly right. Carboni, you're so good at this. That was remarkable.
I just read you, so... You know how it works. No. I just read you.
Yes, precisely. The Panthers have 52 players on the active roster right now. The active roster can hold up to 53 players. They have 2 players on the injured reserve who are practicing right now. Those 2 are guard Robert Hunt and guard Chandler Zavala. And Chandler Zavala just had his practice window open today. It's reading the tea leaves, it's really unlikely that he'll be ready to go by Saturday. But Robert Hunt has been practicing for now over 2 weeks at this point. And I think my sense was that the timeline for Robert Hunt was always going to be, okay, if the Panthers do make the postseason, he should be ready for that first playoff game. He obviously suffered a biceps injury, a really significant one in week 2. If it didn't happen in week 2, they would have just, even if it happened in week 4 or something, they would have just shut him down for the year. Obviously, if you remember, Austin Corbett had literally the same exact
Yeah.
injury last year, week 5, and they called it a season-ending injury like immediately. So I think that things are. I don't know what the proper language is, but things are trending up, and
Yeah.
like, I would say that the Panthers would, because of their tendency to push things all the way to the game, and to do this gamesmanship thing. I would imagine that he would be questionable going into Saturday, but if you're asking Alex Zetlow, I think Robert Hunt does play because he feels physically ready, according to Dave Canales, and he's been mentally ready for a long time. He's been in the building throughout the whole season.
Yeah, gamesmanship is fair game, in my opinion, heading into this game with a player like that, even though it's not the sexiest of positions. I mean, this guy is a beast in the run game, and they need to get that back on track. I mean, what would a Robert Hunt, and let's assume he is close to what he was before the week 2 injury, what would that bring to this offense at large, let alone just the interior up front?
Yeah, I think Austin Corbett has actually done a pretty good job just by me watching the all 22 tape or whatever after the game. I think he's actually done a pretty good job. I know a lot of fans were questioning him at the center spot prior to Cade Mays kind of coming in and taking over there. But at right guard, he's I think he's done a pretty good job. Now, when you marry that with the fact that the Panthers haven't been able to run the ball effectively the last couple of weeks, and you have a Pro Bowl guy like Robert Hunt coming back into the mix, yeah, you would hope that the run game gets better. Um, the run game can't really get any worse. Also, I mean, they averaged 1.4 yards per carry against the Bucks last week. They were slipping and sliding everywhere. It didn't matter if they had longer spikes on their cleats or what have you. Rico Dowdle is over 1,000 rushing yards on the year, but I don't think he's had over 60 in like several weeks. Chuba Hubbard similarly has struggled in the run game. I don't. I mean, to answer your question, adding someone like Robert Hunt back into the starting lineup can only be a positive, especially if he's fully healthy. But I wonder if this run game stuff is more than just players executing. I wonder if it feels like it's a broader problem, perhaps a scheme problem, perhaps going up against good defensive lines and all these things. So, and it's interesting, the Panthers haven't run the ball well since week 13 against the Los Angeles Rams, when they were able to dominate time of possession, be really good on third down, keep the ball out of Matt Stafford's hands. So, I mean, hey, no better time to get back on track.
Could it be any sort of predictability from a play calling standpoint? I mean, this is the identity the Panthers want to establish, and it seems like they do have certain tendencies of when they want to run the ball, and they're very stubborn about it, which sometimes can be a good thing. But obviously teams have kind of keyed in on it.
Yeah, I think you nailed it spot on. I mean, if you look at the trends of the season, yes, at the beginning of the year there was some difficulty trying to manage carries for both Chuba Hubbard and for Rico Dowdle, but then Rico really splashed not only when he got the lion's share of the carries and could kind of feel the game out, but also when teams didn't really know what to expect from Rico. I think that's a really fair thing to say. When you don't know a team's identity, it's harder to game plan for them. Just simply said. And it also helped that Rico got going against some of the worst rush defenses in the league as well. But yeah, I think there is a play calling thing there. But I'm not someone who is going to, be able to go line for line and say, okay, Dave should have called this, Dave should have called that. That's not my strength. But I think what you're saying is very true.
Quickly before we go to break, David Moore being activated after his own long stint on injured reserve, what role could he potentially play Saturday, do you think?
He could play special teams, could be a really important player in special teams from a gunner perspective. I don't see him being one of the guys, one of the I mean, he could get in for several series, like on the field playing
Yeah.
at the wide receiver spot, but I don't expect him to take reps from Jalen Coker, not from Xavier Legette, and certainly not from T-Mac. That's where I would see him. I actually talked to him today. The reporters talked to him today, and it was interesting. He talked about how the injury that he sustained kind of made him step back and really appreciate what this wide receiver room has done. And he concluded it by saying, and maybe I'm just splitting hairs here, but he concluded it by saying, I'm excited to watch them on Saturday.
And that's very interesting. Yeah.
I mean, maybe that's Alex looking too deep into something.
No,
Maybe
I mean, I think it seems like underlying there's, he may not be the plug him in the slot and Bryce is hitting him on third down that everybody kind of wants to see again out of him. But, that's probably asking a lot at this point, and they've got other guys out there.
Yeah, that's how I see it too.
All right, Alex Zetlow from the Charlotte Observer. We're going to have much more with him. Can this Panthers team, can Bryce Young, can Dave Canales meet the moment this Saturday against the LA Rams? On Panthers on the Plus with Charlotte Observer beat writer Alex Zetlow, one of our nightly guests this week as we get you ready for the Panthers' first postseason appearance since 2017. We'll be here every single night at 9 o'clock. Tomorrow is one of Alex's predecessors, Jordan Rodrigue, who has spent a lot of time with the Rams since she left. She'll be on tomorrow. And we will have a live pregame show, 2:30 to 3:30, outside the bank on WCNC Plus before 4:30 kickoff. Alex, you are one of the hosts of one of my favorite podcasts this year talking about the Panthers, Processing Blue, and I think you're smiling because you know that I tend to watch it while I'm doing things I hate. I think I listened to a whole episode standing in a rental car counter line. Holy moly, Denver Airport. You got to fix that. A lot of diaper changes recently have come while listening to Processing Blue. Processing Blue.
That's right.
But I do love it. You guys are great. And your buddy Mike K alluded on Twitter before I came to the microphone here to some sort of special guest. I will wait and see who it is unless you want to break that news here. But it sounds fun, so I can't wait to listen. When is that coming out?
That is coming out tomorrow morning.
Morning. Great. Diaper time, buddy.
No, yeah, we're talking, crack of dawn morning. So feel free to get woken up by your beautiful new child.
I will be up before dawn. I can promise you that. You mentioned and it was a very interesting point in our first segment, Alex, about this isn't like, you can't just call this like a young team. You can't call it a veteran-laden team. You kind of gave us your sense of the somewhat business-like approach, like not just like a bunch of young guys that don't know what the situation is. Like, what's your perspective on whether how special this team knows this opportunity is, especially in year 2 of this all coming together?
So I don't know why this is coming to mind when you ask me that question, but when I was a very young reporter at the Rock Hill Herald,
I remember.
No, you don't. That you're being very nice, but no, you don't.
I do, but go on.
And so I was covering high school sports, but I was also covering Winthrop men's basketball.
Yep.
And the head coach over at Winthrop was this guy named Pat Kelsey. He is now the head coach at Louisville, just became the ACC Coach of the Year, or was that last year. And he's just an absolute, just like, he's an amazing coach with amazing energy and all these things. When I was there, he was turning around the Winthrop program, and Winthrop went over to St. Mary's, a ranked St. Mary's team over on the West Coast, and beat them. And afterward, me and Pat had several long Q&As, and I said, Pat, and I didn't know what else to ask, so I was like, Pat, what gave this team the audacity to think that they could beat a ranked team on the road, small Winthrop from small Rock Hill, like all that stuff? And he said this quote, "They're too naive to know any different." And I think that is what this Panthers team is. They are so naive. They think that they can split in metronomic succession the last 8 games of the year, well, outside of losing 2 in a row. They think that they can do that and be a playoff team. They think that they can lose their season finale against the Bucks and be a playoff team in Atlanta. They think that without 4 key defensive playmakers in Week 13 against the MVP candidate in Matthew Stafford, against one of the best offenses and best offensive play callers in Sean McVay, that they can beat the Rams, and they did, because they are naive. I think that is what this team has been all season. I think I don't know how else to put it, because outside of that, I'm still struggling to figure out who these Panthers are, and I mean that in the most delightfully confused way. Because at the beginning of the season, I'll brag here, but then I'm gonna explain how I shouldn't be bragging. At the beginning of the season, I chose them to go 8-9. I was like, okay, this is who they are. This is just a gradual ascension, whatever. But during the season, like week to week, I think overall I've been correct on like 6 games.
Right.
Something
the path
like that.
to 8-9 was wild.
What are we doing? You're beating the Packers, you're beating the Rams, you're getting swept by the Saints, who, like, everyone considered them to be like Panthers 2023 2.0. So, like, I don't truly know. Like, I don't think the prudent fan who is truly honest with themselves knows what they can expect from these Panthers week in and week out. And that's what's made this season so spectacular. So, when I walked into the locker room today expecting some sort of thing, I'm not sure why I expected it, because I haven't been able to deduce anything from this team all season. But they've been a wonderful team to cover as well.
Here in year 3, we finally get to see Bryce Young, who played in so many massive games in college, play in his biggest game as a professional quarterback. What's your sense of how he's approaching it, kind of his mindset, and also how ready he is as a quarterback in this league to take this stage?
I think he is absolutely ready. We actually asked that of Dave Canales today, and he said, I think that this is kind of where Bryce Young is most comfortable, because he is. Since we've said this stat, I don't know how many times, but since coming into the league in 2023, he has led 12 game-winning drives. 6 of them have been this year. He's only won. Nick, can you remind me?
All right, so one 1 in year, 2 in year 1, right? And then 5 that was he there? No, not one of them
4.
last year. Yeah, 4 because of the benching last year out of the 5.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's either 12 of 16 or I can't exactly remember the
comeback wins. Yeah.
Yes, of comeback wins. This dude pretty much exclusively wins in come from behind fourth quarter game-winning drive ways. And that has benefited Ryan Fitzgerald, the Panthers' kicker. He has had a great season in the clutch as well. But the whole point is like this is when Bryce is at his best. In the largest moments, when the spotlight is the brightest, when he can kind of fall back on his training, and while everyone else is freaking out, he can kind of just be this calming force. At least that's what it seemed so far. That's what the stats bear out. When the game is not close is when he is not playing at his best. So, yeah, that's probably an annoyingly vague answer, but I think that is true to a certain extent. Now, he did kind of show. I mean, they only scored 14 points or something like that last week, but he did kind of show that he could lead an offense by himself. The run game was absolutely non-existent. So he threw for over 200 yards.
266, yeah.
266, which is more than he has in pretty much
most
the rest
games,
of the season.
Mm-hmm.
So he's shown that he can kind of put this offense on his back when required, and he can also use his legs too. I think that we're going to see a really good Bryce Young this weekend. Now, will everyone else be really good against a really motivated Rams team, against a Rams offense that has some licks to get back after a 3 turnover performance in Charlotte a couple weeks prior? That's still to be determined, but I think Bryce is due for a really good game.
All right, can the Panthers beat the Rams twice in one season? Can Dave Canales beat Sean McVay twice in one season? We're going to have one final segment with Alex Zetlow from the Charlotte Observer coming up in 2 minutes. Welcome back to Panthers on the Plus, one of our nightly conversations leading up to this big Panthers playoff game, first since 2017, first home postseason game since the NFC title match with the Cardinals that the Panthers won convincingly after the 2015 season. So we're excited, and Alex Zetlow has been getting us excited for this from the Charlotte Observer. You can find him on X at Alex ZIETLOW05 on X, and Alex, you want to tease anything you're working on special this week? You're the enterprise reporter as well as a beat reporter, so I know you've got some good stuff cooking all the time.
Um, it's a good question.
We're just covering the playoff game at this point. That's where I'm at. I'm like, man, like here we are. We got to get into this game.
No, I actually do really appreciate the question. I actually have two things that I think Nick, you specifically might really like.
That's
But
what I'm after.
also I don't but also for like for like those who listen to this, I also don't want to give away my decent ideas. Not that they're
Of
great
course.
ideas or anything like that. But
So we'll just watch. We'll monitor the Observer.
yeah,
That's
yeah, just monitor
and
the
your social media
Observer.
account.
Also, I do want to say thank goodness that you had me on before Jordan Rodriguez. Holy moly. If I had to follow her, are you kidding me?
Hey,
I'm
you're
so
following in
happy
her
I won.
footsteps right now at the Observer and doing a great job. So we'll be
Well,
calling a favor in from you in 5 years. I want to get to
bro,
the
hey.
coaching matchup because it's not often a second year head coach gets the best of Sean McVay in the situation Dave Canales did, but there's so many different like layers to this Panthers Rams matchup with all the familiarity. There's a bunch of guys, as you mentioned at the top, from the Rams Super Bowl team, now with the Panthers. Ejiro Evero came from the Rams, worked with Sean McVay. Dave Canales worked in the NFC West against Sean McVay, obviously not in the same positions. What do you make of Dave Canales in this moment? I mean, this is his first big shot, as we talked about Bryce Young.
I think he is being. I don't want to say frustratingly, but to a certain extent, like we are media people. We want to get our subjects to express not only their authentic feelings for certain, but we also want them to be like truly excited and like articulate the moment for us. Yes, we can talk about the substantial history that the Panthers are making. Yes, we can do this. Yes, we can do that. But like when a player when a player or a coach truly like explains what this moment means to them, that is really special. That's where we can do our jobs and like really elevate stuff. And Dave Canales is just frustratingly being like, yeah, it's another game. Like he has in his mind, I swear, he truly thinks that the Panthers have been in the playoffs for eight
I know.
weeks.
I wanted to be like Dave. You have to win consecutive weeks in the playoffs, but I get his approach, and it's a consistent approach that yes probably drives us nuts, but it works for them obviously. So
But wouldn't it also be exhausting too? Like, wait, like
we're in the
you're
playoffs
playing
for
the
18 weeks.
yeah. So, yeah, he has kind of let us in a little bit. Like
Yeah,
um, after the Falcons Saints game, we hopped on a phone call with him, and he explained how he was watching the game with his family, and how after the game he heard all this cheering in the neighborhood. So he and his family like went out to the front yard, and people were like cheering in front of him.
that's
Like it
something like
was.
Ron Rivera was beloved for things like that. I really really liked that he shared that on Sunday.
That was sick. But I think Dave is prepared for this moment. Yes, he's a second year head coach. Yes, I know he's 44 years old. Yes, I know he doesn't have a ton of experience calling plays, and that the rest of his coaching staff is quite young. Brad Idzik was literally younger than some players, at least one player prior to Adam Thielen leaving. And so I understand that there's this idea of youth